The lipids triglyceride, phol- phi- phospholipids, and steroids. Steroids. No, not steroids. I don't know what that is. Other nutrition in your life. Most likely, most likely you know what you don't like about body fat, but you don't. But but do you appreciate how it insulates you against the cold or powers your hike around a lake? And what about food fat? You're right to create fat for providing the delicious flavors and aromas of butter, popcorn, and fried chicken, and criticize it for contributing to weight gain, heart disease. So common today. The challenge is to strike a healthy balance of enjoying some fat but not too much, learning what kinds of fats are beneficial and what and which are most harmful will also help you make wise decisions as you read this chapter. Consider whether your current fat choices are meeting dietary goals. No doubt you heard that fat can contribute to the development of several chronic diseases, but I'll wear my glasses. I gotta find my glasses. That's crazy. Where my glasses? What's up, y'all? Hope your day going amazing. Um, Getting enough fat is rarely a problem. At least traces of fat can be found in almost all foods. In society, our abundance people are likely to consume too much fat or too much of some kind of fat, with consequent health problems. Leaning which kinds of fat are harmful or helpful is key to healthy diet planning. Fat is a type of liquid, but oftentimes the two terms you are used interchangeably. The liquid family includes triglyceride, fat, and oils. Files, fo, foliates, and steroids. Triglycerides lipid family includes triglycerides, fat and oils, phospholipid, phol, phospholipids, and steroids. Triglycerides are most abundant both in foods and in the body. The following section describes the similarities and the differences among the remarkable diverse members of the lipid family. The chemist's view of fatty acids and trin triglycerides, tri, triglycerides. Like carbohydrate, lipids are composed of carbon, C, hydrogen, H, and oxygen, O. Because lipids have many more carbons and hydrogens in proportion to their oxygen, they can supply more energy per gram. The car, carbohydrates can provide the metabolic details. The many names and relationships in the lipid family can seem overwhelming, like meeting a friend, extended family for the first time. To ease the introduction, this chapter first presents each of the lipids family, a chemist's point view point of view using both words and diagrams. The chapter follows the lipids through digestion and absorption and into the body exam their roles in health and disease for people who think they are more easily in words than chemical symbols. This preview upcoming chemistry may be helpful. Every triglyceride contains a molecule of glycerol and three fatty acids, basically chains of carbon atoms. Fatty acids may maybe 4 to 24 even numbers of carbon long, the 18 carbon ones being the most common in foods and especially net worthy in nutrition. Fatty acids may be saturated and unsaturated. Unsaturated fatty acids may have one more points of unsaturated saturation. That is, they may be monounsaturated or polyunsaturated. Others of special importance of special importance in nutrition are more polyunsaturated fatty acids, known as omega-3 fatty acids and omega-6 fatty acids. The 18 carbon polyunsaturated fatty acids are linolenic acid, omega-3, and linoleic acid, omega 6. Both are essential fatty acids that the body cannot make. Each is primarily a member of a family of longer chain fatty acids that help regulate blood pressure, blood clotting, and other body functions important to health. The paragraphs, definition, and diagrams that follow present the information again in much more detail. Fatty acids are all fatty acids. All fatty acids have the same basic structure, a chain of carbon and hydrogen atoms with a acid group COOH. So carbon, two oxygens, and hydrogen. At the end, at one end, a metal group CH carbon hydrogen times three at the other end. Fatty acids may differ from one another. However, in the length of carbon chains and in the number of locations of their double bonds, as the following paragraphs describes, fatty acids are related terms are defined in glossary 5 and 1. The length of the carbon chain. Most naturally occurring fatty acids contain even numbers of carbon in the chains up to 24 carbons in length. The discussion begins with the 18 carbon fatty acids, which are abundant in our food supply. Stearic acid is a simplest of 18 carbon fatty acids. The bonds between its carbons are all alike. As you can see, stearic acid is 18 carbon long, and each atom meets a rule of carbon of chemical bonding bonding described in figure 4 and 1. Page 95. The following structure also uh, depletes steric a- uh, steric acid steric acid, but in a simpler way with each corner of the zigzag line representing carbon atom with two attached hydrogens. As mentioned earlier, the carbon chains of fatty acids vary in length. The long the long chain more than 12 carbons fatty acids of meats, seafood, and vegetable oils are most common in the diet. Smaller amounts of medium chains, carbons, and short chains of 6 carbons. Fatty acids also occur primarily in dairy products. Table C and 1, C and 2, the appendix C provide the names, change, length, source, and fatty acids commonly found in foods. The nature of double bonds. Stearic acid describes, as shown as previously, is a stearic acid is a saturated fatty acid. A saturated fatty acid is fully loaded with all hydrogen atoms and contains only single bonds between its carbon atoms. Its two hydrogens were missing from the middle of carbon chains. The remaining structure might be. Notice that in impossible chemical structure shown above, two of the carbon have only three bonds each. Such compound cannot exist because every carbon must have four bonds. To satisfy this rule, the two carbons form a double bond. So it's showing me like not it's showing me like I'm gonna show y'all. It's showing me like different diagrams of fatty acids and, or stearic acid. Notice that impossible chemical structure. Oleic acid and 18 carbon monosaturated fat monos, monosaturated fatty acid. Agency. Okay. Although 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 drawn straight here, its actual shape bends at the double bond. The double bond is point of unsaturation. A fatty acid like this with hydrogen missing and at least one double bond is unsaturated fatty acid. This one is 18 monosaturated fatty acid, oleic acid, fatty acid, oleic acid, which is an abundant of olive oil and canola oil. Polyphatic acid has two or more carbon to carbon double bonds. Linear acid, the 18 carbon fatty acid common in vegetable oil, lacks four hydrogen and has two double bonds. Draw more linic acid must a linic acid like this through an actual shape would bend at the double bonds. Linic acid, a fourth 18 carbon fatty acid, linic acid, which has three double bonds, table 5-1. Page 132 presents 18 carbon fatty acid. The location of double bonds. Fatty acids differ only in the length of their change and their degree of saturation, but also in the location of their double bonds. Chemists identify polyunsaturated fatty acids by positioning of the double bonds closet to methanol. CH, methanol, end of the carbon chain, which described by an omega number, a polyunsaturated fat acid with its closest double bond three carbons away from the methyl end is an omega-3 fatty acids. Sim, sim, Similarly, an omega-6 fatty acid is a polyunsaturated fatty acid with its closest double bond six carbon away from the methyl end. Figure 5-1 compares two 18 carbon fatty acids, linear, linoleic acid, omega-3 fatty acid, and linoleic acid as omega-6 fatty acid. Monounsaturated fatty acids tend to belong to the omega-9 group with their closest and only double bond 9 carbons away from methanol and oleic acid, the 18 carbon monounsaturated fatty acid commonly in olive oil mentioned earlier is a omega-9 fatty acid. It is also the most predominant monounsaturated fatty acid in the diet. Triglyceride, few fatty acids occur free in foods or in the body. Most often, they are incorporated into triglycerides, lipids composed of three fatty acids attached to a glycerol. Figure 5-2 presents glycerol molecule. To make tri triglyceride, a series of condensation reactions combine a hydrogen atom from the glycerol, a hydroxyl group of fatty acids forming a molecule of water, H H2O, and leaving a bond between two molecules. Most most triglycerides triglycerides contain a mixture of more than one type of fatty acids. Characteristics of solid fats and oils. The chemistry of acids, whether it's short or long, saturated, unsaturated, with a closet double bond at carbon 3 or carbon 6, influences the characteristics of foods and the health of the body. A section later and the chapter contains how these features affect health. The section describes the chemistry influences the fats and oils in foods. Firmness. The degree of unsaturations influence the firmness of fats at room temperature. Generally speaking, most unsaturated fats and some oils, notably cocoa butter, palm oil, palm kernel oil, and coconut oil, are saturated. They are form they are firmer than most vegetable oils because of their saturation, but softer than most animals' fats because of their shorter carbon chains. 8 to 14 carbon long. Generally, they're shorter than carbon chains. The softer the fat is at room temperature. Fatty acids composition of selected fats are and oils are shown in figure 5 through 5. Stability. Stability, the degree of saturation also influences stability. All fats become spoiled and exposed to oxygen. The oxidation of fats produces a variety of compounds that smell and taste renicide. Exposure to heat and light can also speed up rancidity. Um, Polyunsaturated fats unspoil most readily because their double bonds and are unstable. Monounsaturated fats are slightly less acceptable. Saturated fats are more resistant to oxidation and thus least likely to become rancid. Manufacturers can protect fat containing products against randicity in three ways, none of which is perfect. First, products may be sealed in airtight, non-talic containers, protected from light and refrigerated and expensive and in an inconvenience storage sy- system. Second, manufacturers may add antioxidants to compete for oxygen and thus protect the oils. Examples are the ad- additives BHA and BHT and vitamin E. The advantages and disadvantages of antioxidants in food processing are presented in chapter 19. Third, products may undergo a process known as hydrogen. Hydrogenation. During hydrogenation, some of all of the points of undersaturation and saturated by adding hydrogen molecules. Hydrogenation offers two foods processing advantages. First, it protects against oxidation by making polyunsaturated fats more saturated. More saturated. Second, it alters the texture of foods by making liquid vegetable oils more solid. Hydrogenated fats make margin spreadable pie crust flaky and pudding creamy. Figure 5 and 6 illustrates Figure 5 and 6 illustrates the total hydrogenation of a polyunsaturated fatty acid to saturated fatty acid. The total hydrogenation rarely occurs during food processing. Most often, a fat is partially hydrogenated, and some is double bonds that remain after processing change their configuration from cis to trans. Trans fatty acids. In nature, most double bonds are cis, meaning that the must hydrogens next to the double bonds are the same side of carbon chains. Only few fatty acids, notably a small percentage of those found in milk and meat products, naturally occurs in naturally occurs as trans fatty acids, meaning that hydrogens next to the double bonds are more opposite sides of the carbon chain. In the body, trans fatty acids behave more like uh like sat saturated as fats, increasing blood cholesterol and the risk of heart disease. And a major health disadvantage. Some research suggests that both naturally occurring and commercially created trans fat change blood lipids similarly. Other research suggests that the negative effect specific to only the commercial trans fat. In any case, the important distinction is a relatively small amount of trans fat and in the heart diet comes from natural sources. At current levels of consumption, natural trans trans fat have a little, if any, effect on blood lipids. Some naturally occurring trans fatty acids known as conjur, um, conjugated liquid linen, linoleic acids may have health benefits. Conjugated linic acids are not counted as trans fats on food labels. Damn, I'm not itching like that. The chemists view phospholipids as steroids. It sounds like steroids. Okay, steroids. Um, phospholipids. Uh, the best known phospholipid and uh lec- lectin. Notice that lectin has one glycerol with two of its three attachment sites occup- occupied by fatty acids. Like those triglycerides, the third site occupied by a phospho- uh, phosphate, phosphate group of a um, molecule of ketone. The uh, hydrophobic acids make phospholipids so soluble in fat. The hydrophilic phosphate group allows them to dissolve in water. Such versatility enables a food industry to use phospholipids and emulsifier to mix fats with water in such products as mayonnaise, salad, dressing, and candy bars. Phospholipids in foods, in addition to phospholipids used in food industry and in mucilars, in mu mule. I need some lotion. Man, my skin is dry. Emulsifiers. Um, Phospholipids are found naturally in foods. The richness food source and lectin are eggs, liver, soybeans, wheat, germ, and peanuts. Roles in phospholipids. Lectin are other. Why am I acting? Lectin lectin are other phospholipids. It's like, oh, take another shower, man. But that shower be making my skin dry. That's what I'm saying. I need that shea butter or that what's that stuff called? Forgot what that stuff called. Lectin, lectin, and other phospholipids are constituents of a cell membrane because because phospholipids are soluble in both water and fat. They can help fat soluble substance, including vitamins and hormones, to pass easily in and out the cells. Five uh, phos, phospholipids also act as emulsifiers in the body, um, helping to keep fat suspended in the blood and and body fluids. Steroids. In addition to triglycerides and phospholipids, the lipids include steroids compounds with a multi-ring structure, with a multi-ring structure that most known well most the most well-known steroid is cholesterol. Steroids and foods. Steroids and food. Foods derived from both plants and animals contain steroids, but only those from animals contain significant amounts of cholesterol. Meats, eggs, seafood, poultry, and dairy products. Some people confuse about the distinct, um, the distinct. Oh my, um, okay, distinction between dietary cholesterol and food cholesterol have eggs which food contain the good cholesterol. Good cholesterol is not a type of cholesterol found in foods, but it refers to the way the body transports cholesterol in the blood, as explained in a later section of the chapter. Steroids, steroids other than the cholesterol are naturally found in plants, being structurally similarly to cholesterol. Plants steroids interfere with cholesterol absorption by limiting cholesterol absorption. A diet rich in plant steroids lower blood cholesterol levels. Food manufacturers food manufacturers have fortified foods, fortified foods such as margarine with a plant steroids, creating a functional food that helps reduce reduce blood cholesterol. Roles of steroids. Many vitally important body compounds are steroids. Among them are bile acids, the sex hormones such as uh, testosterone, and androgen and estrogen. The adrenal hormones such as cortisol, cortisone, and aldosterone, and vitamin D, as well as cholesterol itself. Cholesterol in the body can body can serve as the bro. My body must be dry because this is crazy. Um, and the vitamin D as well as cholesterol. Cholesterol in the body can serve as starting material, starting material for the synthesis of the compounds or as a structural component of cell membranes. More than 90% of the body cholesterol is found in the cells. Unlike fatty acids, cholesterol cannot be used for energy despite common misconception. Cholesterol is not a villain lurking in evil foods. It is a compound the body makes and uses. The chemical structure is the same, but cholesterol that is made in the body is referred to endogenous exogenous. Right now, right now as you read right now, as you read, your liver is manufacturing cholesterol from fragments of carbohydrate, protein, and fat. And in fact, the liver makes about 800 to 1,500 milligrams of cholesterol per day, thus contributing much more than the body's total than does the diet. For for perspective, the daily value of food labels for cholesterol is 300 milligrams per day. Cholesterol harmful effects in the body occur when accumulates in the artery walls and it can contributes to formation of plaque. These plaques deposits lead to ath- atherosclerosis, a disease that causes heart attacks and strokes. Chapter 18 Chapter 18 provides many more detail. 5.3 digestion. Absorption and absorption and transport of lipids. Each day the digestional tract, GI tract, receives on average from the food we eat 50 to 100 milligrams of triglycerides, 48 grams of phospholipids, and 200 to 350 milligrams of cholesterol. Cholesterol cholesterol. These lipids are hydrophobic, uh, hydrophobic, hydrophobic. Um, whereas the digestive enzymes are hydrophilic. As you notice how the body engagingly meets challenges keeping the lipids mix in the watery fluids of the intestinal tract, facilitating the work of the lip lip lipids lip, lip acids. Lipid digestion, figure 511 traces digestion of fat through the intestinal tract, GI tract. The goal of fatty digestion is dismantle dismantle dry glycerides into small molecules that the body can absorb and use, namely monoglyceride fatty acids and glycerol. The following paragraphs provides the details. In the mouth, fat digestion starts slowly in the mouth with some hard fats melting as they reach the body temperature. Salivary gland at the base of the tongue. Oh, dang, that's been 30 minutes, 35 minutes already. Ooh, uh, what was that? Um, I'm gonna start again. In the mouth, fat digestion starts slowly in the mouth, with some hard fats melting as they reach the body temperature. Severely gland at the base of the tongue releases an enzyme, lingual lipids, that plays an active role in the fat digestion in infants, but regulatively relatively mirror role in adults. In infants, the enzyme efficiently digests the short and medium chain fatty acids found in milk. In the stomach, a quiet in a quiet stomach, fat will float fat will float as a layer above the water components and of swallowed food. But whenever food is present, the stomach is active. The strong muscle contractions of the stomach propel its contents toward the pyloric sphincter. Pyloric sphincter. Some chine passes through the pyloric sphincter periodically, but the remaining partially digest food is propelled back into the body of the stomach. This trimming grinds the solid pieces of finer particles, mixes the chine with gastric secretions, and disperses the fatty acids into small droplets. These actions help to expose the fat for attack by the gastric lipids, and enzyme that performs the best in the environment of acidic environment of the stomach. Still, little fat digestion takes place in the stomach. Most of the action occurs in the small intestine. In the small intestine, when fat enters the small intestine, it triggers and release the hormone uh clis, cleosocline CCK, which signals the gallbladder to release its stores of bile. Remember from chapter 3, the bile is the digestive secretion that is made by the liver, steroid, and the gallbladder and releases into a small intestine when needed. Among bile's many ingredients are bile acids, which are made in the liver and liver from cholesterol and have many similar structure. In addition, bile acids of pair up pair up with an amino acid, a building block of protein. Amino acids end up in is philic, and the steroid end is hydro hydrophobic, having both water soluble and fat soluble ends, enable bile to act as an emulsifier, a substance that promotes the mixing of fats molecules in the surrounding water fluids. Note that the bile is not a digestive enzyme. It is, however, essential to preparing the fats for digestion by the lipids enzyme from the pancreas and small intestine. The process of emulsification is diagram in figure 5 through 12, page 140. Most of the hydrolysis of triglycerides, often in small intestine. The major fat digestion enzymes are pancreatic lipids. Some intestinal lipids are also active. The enzymes remove each of a triglycerides, often fatty acids, one at a time, leaving a monoglyceride. Occasionally, 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 enzymes remove all three fatty three acids, leaving a free molecule of glycerol. Hydrolysis triglyceride is shown in figure 5 to 13. False phospholipids are digested digested similarly, that is, their fatty acids, and removed by hydrolysis. The two fatty acids and the remaining glycerol and phosphate fragments are the absorbed absorbed. Most steroids can be absorbed as is. If any fatty acids are attached, they are first hydro hydro hydrolyzed off. Bowel's routes. After bile enters the small intestine and emulsifies fat, emulsifies fat, it has two possible destinations. Illustrate a figure 5 through 14. Most of the bile absorbed from the small intestine and recycled. It is possibly it is possible it is the other possibility is some of the bile can be trapped by dietary fibers and in the large intestine and exerting. Because cholesterol is needed to make bile it, and excretion of bile effectively reduces blood cholesterol. As chapter 4 explains, the dietary fiber most effective at lowering blood cholesterol are the soluble fibers commonly found in fruits, whole grain, and legumes. Ooh. Lipid absorption. Figure 5 through 15 illustrates the absorption of lipids. Small molecules can diffuse can diffuse easily into the intestinal cell. They are absorbed directly into the bloodstream. Larger molecules are emulsified by bile forming spherical complexes known as micelles. The me the micelles diffuse into intestinal cells where are monoglycerides and long chain fatty acids are resemble into new triglycerides. Within the intestinal cells, the newly made triglycerides, other lipids, cholesterols, and phospholipids are packaged with proteins to make transport vehicles known as microns. The intestinal cells carefully regulates the production and release of the climacrons into the lipid fat system. The the climic glide through the lymph until they reach a point entry in the blood into the bloodstream at the thero- thoracic duct near the heart. Chapter 3, the nutrients from the GI tract that enter the lymph system initially bypass the liver. The blood carries the lipids, the lipids to the rest of the body for immediate use and storage. A look at these lipids to the rest of the body for immediate use and storage. To look at these lipids in the body reveals the kinds of fat the diet has been delivering. The blood fat stores and muscle cells. People who eat rich and unsaturated fats, for example, contains more unsaturated fats than those of the people who select a diet high unsaturated fats. Lipid transport, the chylomicrons, are one of the several clusters of lipids and protein that are used as transport vehicles for fats as a group. These vehicles are known as lipoproteins and solve the body's challenge to transport fat through the water bloodstream. The body makes the body makes four main types of lipid proteins distinguished by their size and density. Each type each type of lipoprotein contains a different kinds of amount of lipid proteins. Lipids and the more lipids and less dense, the more proteins and more dense. Figure 5 through 16 shows the lipid relative compositions and sizes in lipid proteins. The chylomicrons are the largest and the least dense of lipoproteins. They transport diet-derived lipids from the small intestine to the rest of the body. Cells all over the body triglycerides from the cly, clylocomicrons, clymicrons, clymicrons as they pass by. So clymocrines get smaller and smaller. Within 14 hours after absorption, most triglycerides have been depleted, and only a few remains of protein. Cholesterol and cholesterol and phospholipid remain. Special protein receptors and special protein receptors and membranes of the liver cells recognize and remove these remove these chylomicrons remains from the blood. Very low density VLD